Now back to the show. This is AM 650's The Law Show.
Nice to have you with us this Sunday morning. First one in March. Red Robinson and the Diner coming up in a few minutes, but we have our guest from Lindsay Kenny LLP in studio. We're talking family law with Angela Thiel and Christine Eilers. And Christine, I wanted to talk to you about we are an increasingly mobile group. So what happens in these blended families when one partner wants to leave for romantic or other reasons, and suddenly there's one parent who's in one province and somebody else who's in another province, and there's a lot of turf in between the two. How do those get resolved, and what's a typical scenario in a relocation?
Yeah, well, I mean, it happens all the time. And it comes up more often in blended families than in other circumstances because one of the parents will meet, and it's often mom meets a new guy. He's got a great job opportunity that comes up in Alberta or in the States or wherever else. Okay. And all of a sudden she wants to move, and she wants to take the children with her, of course, to be with her new husband and perhaps his family or at least where he can earn a much greater income.
Okay.
And of course, mom can't just up and leave dad and on his own here in Vancouver or wherever he may be. She needs to go through some steps in order to be able to do that. And so
first of all, it's possible. It's legally possible, but there are some protocols that have to be followed.
Exactly. It is legally possible. And I mean, in some circumstances, it makes sense, and it would be in the best interest of the child to be in a place where child's new stepdad could actually earn enough money to support the family.
Sure.
But it isn't automatic. So it does require either the consent of the other parent or a court application. And under the new law, again, there's a very specific procedure actually that needs to be undertaken by the parent wanting to move. And the move needs to be in good faith and considered in the child's best interest.
Okay.
And different types of dads have different rights. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the things that the courts are struggling with now is that you may have had a time where you were, the case that just came up is relatively young parents have a child together. The mother gets, let's call it sole custody.
Okay.
And no one pays any much attention to that because that was what was pretty common when you got a 6-month-old child.
Mm-hmm.
But life evolves and they start moving along and having more of similar to a joint custody relationship. Now mom meets someone and wants to move.
Right.
A father who is not a custodial parent has less rights to oppose the move. So in this particular case, they go to court and the judge is faced with, on paper, he doesn't have the same rights, but in practice, he's been acting as if he does. So that particular judge, in my view, rather cleverly said, you know what? I'm just going to order that you have, what you have de facto. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to treat you that way as I analyze what I'm going to do about the move.
Okay.
I'm not going to rely on what was on paper. But that type of dispute of, whatever the dad got on paper or didn't get at all because he never worried about getting a court order is affecting his right to oppose the move. And it's in essence a reverse onus. Certain types of dads, a 50-50 dad has way more power to say, no, you got to prove X, whereas a sort of a on paper less involved parent, the onus shifts and he doesn't have as much power to say no.
Christine, have cases come up where a 50-50 dad, I'm assuming the jargon means that dad has equal custodial time from the courts.
Yeah.
So if the 50-50 dad has the legal right to protest a move and does,
yes.
Are there cases on the books where the judge goes, well, Dad, I side with the dad. You can't move. You can't take those kids to Saskatchewan.
There are. The cases go both ways. So if the judge finds that it's not in the child's best interest to go then that's what it's about. That's
interesting,
really what the factors are.
Well, and the judge, what the case law seems to suggest is that the judges should look at every option. They should look at how possible would it be for the new parent to move to BC.
Right.
How possible would it be for the parent who doesn't want the move to move to the new location? So in other words, what have you got here that's keeping you from going to Ontario where she wants to be?
Sure.
And then it's kids staying here with mom and kids staying here with dad. So they're supposed to look at all the options, including how much parenting time, extra vacation time will I give you if you allow me to go live in, Saskatchewan.
So the negotiations begin.
Yeah, exactly. How to arrange for access times and stuff like that. The other thing is all the other family members. If the child's going to, Australia or something,
Yes.
they're leaving all of their family behind here, then a judge might not think that that's in the child's best interest necessarily.
Yeah, and ages of kids. So for example, if a 4-year-old goes, well, a 4-year-old can't, the problem is, if you've got a really solid relationship with a 12-year-old, you can Skype, you can email, you can text.
Yes.
That child's still going to know because he knows who his dad is.
Sure.
And who his mom is. But if you're talking about a 4-year-old, those relationships, that once those fracture, it's pretty hard to put them back together again.
Very true, yeah.
And putting a 4-year-old on a flight, that means somebody going back and forth with the child, whereas you've got these, stewardess-attended 7-year-olds where they have programs for, yes, we'll take care of your 8-year-old and
Yep.
make sure they get there safely. But those are the hardest and most emotionally devastating cases. To say to a father, I'm sorry, but the court has ordered your children can move. And I had one the other way around where, the mother wanted to move the kids and had, gone down to California without a court order and was in contempt and wouldn't bring them back. And it was really hard to get them back.
And of course, once they did come back, they would be seized. She would be found in contempt. There'd be hell to pay, wouldn't it?
There was definitely, in fact, probably that woman, had she not done things the way she done it, I'm just going to go and see if you do anything about it.
Right.
Had she asked the court in the first place in a respectful, appropriate fashion, she might have had more abilities to move those kids.
Interesting.
Takeaway there. Don't kidnap your kids out,
Well,
of, the,
no,
out of the
Well,
jurisdiction.
this one was particularly bad because she wrote an email where my client said, the judge said you got to bring the kids back, and she said, I'm American and no effing BC judge is going to tell me what I need to do.
That'll warm up the courts here, won't it? Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about very briefly is the whole matter of adoptions, which sometimes occurs in a blended family. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back with Angela Thiel and Christine Eilers. This is The Law Show on AM 650.
This is AM 650's The Law Show. There's more of the show still ahead.